Well, you're not seeing things. Malibu's back in for a rear end gear change. Again. Welcome back to Lucore Automotive Services. Like, subscribe, leave us a comment below. Come along for the ride. So the other day, Bill gave me a call. He's like, hey Rich, I got a problem. I'm like, Bill, what's the problem? He's like, well, you know, I drove that car like 600 miles and everything was great. And then the compressor kicked on. Give me that. Take two. So Bill called me up the other day. He said, Rich, I got a problem. I said, oh no, Bill, what's the problem? He said, well, drove that Malibu after the gears got put in it for like 600 miles. Really not a problem. It was quiet, smooth. There was nothing wrong with it. I'm like, okay. I'm like, what happened to it after Kenny drove it? And he said, well, I pulled it into after the nitrous kit got installed. They took it out, and Kenny got his first experiences with nitrous, which was amazing to watch. And well, they brought it back in the shop and they installed all the suspension kit on it, on the back, the UMI adjustable arms and anti-roll bar, and they pulled the axles out, put bigger studs in it, put it all back together. He's like, now I got a noise in the rear end, it's whining. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, well, if all they did was pull the axles out, they didn't change anything in the rear end. I'm like, what did the fluid look like? Because I would have liked to see the fluid come out of it. Because when it came here, it had, you know, fresh new fluid in it. They had it all apart and put it back together. He's like, well, you know, it didn't look bad. I'm like, all right. Well, bring it over so I can take a look at it and we'll figure it out. So, hence the car is on my rack with rear end tore out of it because I'm putting in a new set of gears. The drive side of the ring gear, the edges are sharpened like a knife. So my guess is the repeated 150 nitrous hits on this probably exceeded the lubricity of the 8090 GL5 gear oil that we had in it. So we're going to put new gears in it again. Now luckily Bill thinks a 411 gear is going to work a little better, so we're changing from 373 up to a 411, which will make this thing scoot a little quicker, and it'll be a little less abusive to the gear oil that's in there. I am going to fill it up with 8090 again for break-in. Basically, when I do a rear end, I like to have a vehicle driven calmly for 500 miles, and then we change the fluid out. And in this case, we'll go to like a 75 140 synthetic. But that's just been my experience. But Bill and I aren't kidding each other. We know what was the demise and the cause of the of the whine. At any rate, we're going to put this thing back together with a 411 gear. I'll check everything over again. And we'll put it back together, get it back in Bill's hands so he can go beat it up and abuse this poor little 10 bolt. Now some of you guys are saying, why are you wasting any money on that 10 bolt? That's a waste of money. Well, yeah, it is. I mean, this 10 bolt's not up for this task. It's being asked to do 10 times what it was built for. But when you're trying to set up a car and you want it to be a certain way, it's actually cheaper to build this axle 2 or 3 times and have everything figured out the way you want it. You know, your gears, your posi, you know, everything, all your suspension geometry, all that stuff. So it'll allow you to just buy the correct axle with all the correct stuff in it and bolt it into the car. So I see a Curry or a, you know, custom built rear end going in this car at some point. I don't know when that will be, but at least this way he will know exactly what he wants and the car will already be set up for it. So all he has to do is bolt it in and go. All right. There's no teeth in this one. It does, you can see it's got a little bit of glitter in it. That's from wearing the from where it was wearing it. But its drive side is sharpened, so it sharpened it like a knife. And I think that the 150 horse nitrous hit exceeded the lubricity of the gear oil. So I'm going to clean this thing out, put it back together, and then we'll move forward. I'm going to fast forward a little bit through this process because I got work to get done. It's the wrong inner pinion bearing. Let's go solve that problem. That's annoying. Sharpened it like a knife. But it did it all the way across. You can actually see it rolled that edge. Might change my pinion depth just a smidge, but it looks really good. It's weird that it did it after the nitrous hits. Well, not really. All right. To say working on cars can be frustrating is an understatement. So this kit was brought to us to be used for the install kit. It was looked up and sourced. And it came with this inner pinion bearing. This inner pinion bearing is incorrect for the car. So we went to Jags and we got this pinion set, and then we got it back and we looked at it and we're like, wait, this one's for 82 to 98 also. So it has the larger rear pinion in it. Okay, well, that's a frustrating loss of time. So we're going to take that one back and get our money back for that one. Oh, that's a complete set. It has axle seals and axle bearings in it. That's why that kit's $50 more than the others. But it's still incorrect for us, so that one goes back. So then we went over to Mark at A1 and said, hey, we need bearings for this. And he said, well, actually that's not true. We called Mark at A1 and said, we need bearings for this car. What can you come up with? He's like, I can have them for you tomorrow. We're like, great, get them coming. So Austin drove over there this morning.
So what's the story, man?
Well, we have two bearings for Mr. Bill's car.
All right.
I mean, it's been quite a journey for those things, so. But we got it done.
And they're made in the United States?
They're actually made in Spain.
Made in Spain?
They're made in Spain.
Okay.
Yeah. So I thought that was okay, because, you know, it's hard to come up with U.S. they made stuff, but
it is.
I think Spain is good. It's definitely a high quality bearings.
You think Bill will be okay with Spanish made?
I think he will.
All right.
I think he'll be good with Spain, so.
There we go. And I guess we had a little bit of a complication already?
We did. So I got you know, I just knew that there might be a snag because it only showed one of each in my warehouse. So I said, you know what, maybe I better cover my butt and order just two more from somebody else. So I'm glad I did, because when I got mine, I opened it up and it actually has an 89 411. Which is off one number, which, oops, that would not work. So what do you think about that?
I'm not surprised.
It's the way of the world right now.
It is.
Can't take nothing for granted.
It is unbelievably frustrating.
It is.
Unbelievably frustrating.
Every day's a new challenge. And then I got Uncle Bucko in the mix too, so that even makes it worse.
When we don't give you the right part numbers, it also hurts things.
Well, that's true too. So
Cool. Thank you, sir.
no, thank you.
Much appreciated.
Yes, sir.
Because that dude's pretty smart and ordered more than what we needed, he opened up the second box that he ordered, and it had the right bearing in it. So now I can put the old man's Malibu back together. Thanks in big part to Market A1. Thank you very much, sir. We do appreciate you. Oh my goodness, it fits! Oh, it's amazing.
Factor in how much cost that little damn piece is of lost productivity. And me driving all over the place.
I don't want to do that.
That's like a $20 part.
It's a $20 part that cost us over $1,000 in lost revenue.
Yeah.
Yes. Not to mention tying up a rack for an
Correct.
extra day.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is why people don't work on old cars. Because this is the kind of stuff that happens.
Yeah.
And it causes productivity losses. It's exactly why other shops don't do this. I haven't figured out why I still do it yet.
You love it.
I must love the pain and suffering. I'm a masochist. Yeah, I'm wondering, you know, with those being aimed directly at the exhaust, at the housing, if that's what's causing our damage to the gears from the oil being cooked.
Or is it helping to heat the rear end up faster?
Preheating the rear gear, yeah, something like that. All right.
I think you are going to need a new cutting wheel, though.
Yeah, I expected that.
I used the last of the nub.
Well, you know, at least we're being
Got all of it.
we're being you know, thrifty,
Yeah.
using all of what we have.
used all of it.
Yeah, it's too tight. Yeah, we're gonna have to change our shims. Well, I don't know if you can see this. I'm kind of fighting with this thing because it's not really giving me the pattern I want to see on the coast side. I put a thicker shim in it, and you can see the drive side is moving farther in. I had a nice wide band here before. My coast side is still really far up in, so I'm going to pull it back by putting a smaller shim on behind the pinion to pull the pinion farther out away from the ring gear, and we're going to see what that pattern looks like. I've already had it that way, but my coast side never looked any different. So it's confusing me. So I'm going to pop this thing back apart and try again. So just for entertainment purposes, I put a pinion shim in. It's like 38 thousandths. So my drive side, you can see how it's moving towards the inside because there's a thicker shim pushing the pinion. You got your ring gear and the pinion is being moved in. So you can see that pattern is moving towards the inside, towards the center line of the axle. But my coast side still looks the same as it has this entire time. So now I'm going to pull out that shim. I'm going to go down to like a 30 thou shim. And you'll see the change in the pattern just for kicks and giggles. Because my brain's mush and I'm not comprehending at this moment why my coast side pattern's not changing. It's kind of a strange thing. And it's almost, I mean, either I'm doing something wrong, which is very possible, or maybe the component isn't machined correctly. I don't know. Let's put I'm going to go way far down, like the 30 thou shim, and we'll see a big change in the pattern, and we'll take a look at it again. Well, here we are. I've actually set this up a few times with different pinion shims. I actually went from a 38 thou shim down to a 33 thou shim down to a 30, and then I jumped down to a 26. Now I'm at a 26, and my drive side pattern is where it needs to be, but my coast side is still way up here on the toe. And no matter where I put this pinion, I'm hitting this. My toe side, or my coast side, is never moving to the center of the surface. So my hands are sore. I'm tired. It's 6 o'clock, and I'm gonna go home because I can't keep beating my head against the wall. I'm gonna have to do some research and figure out what's going on. I don't know if maybe I got a bad ring and pinion set, or I'm doing something completely wrong. I don't know, but I'm going to take a break. I'm going to walk away from it, and I'll come back to it another day, because sometimes these things fight you. That's all you can really do, is walk away, come back with a fresh head, and get back after it. And my backlash is anywhere from 5 to 9 thou for backlash every time I'm setting it up. So I'm everything's where it needs to be, but I can't get that pattern to come into play. So with that, I'm gonna head home. We appreciate you guys coming along for our little bits on the cars we work on. I know you guys are probably here for this car more than you are for me, and I understand that. That's okay. But it's kind of neat seeing how these cars get built and what they go through to get to where they end up. So I went home, relaxed last night, sitting there thinking, and I'm like, hey dummy, instead of beating your head against the wall, putting the differential together a bunch of times, why don't you just get your pinion depth gauge out and actually take the reading? So I did. And my current reading is 0.02 off of what is the optimal position according to the number etched in the head of the pinion. It has a 2.303. I'm at 2.305, so I'm going to make a 0.02 adjustment to my pinion, and I'm going to put this thing together and we're going to drive it, because that is exactly where it is supposed to be set to, without doing the musical shim actions of assembling and disassembling. There are ways to do this with the pinion out, and there are ways to do it with the pinion in. This one works really well because the pinion's installed, and I can take a reading and I can verify that it is installed exactly where the manufacturer wants it to be. I still don't know why I can't get a pattern to look right. Do I have a badly machined ring and pinion? Do I have something else messed up? I don't know. It's kind of strange. I've never had one where I can't get a good pattern. So I'm going to take this pinion out. I'm going to move the pinion 0.02 from the ring gear, and then we're going to put it back together, hopefully for the last time. So the pinion depth gauge, you get a measurement. I got a measurement of 0.195, which subtracted from my calibrated distance is 2.305. My target is 2.303. So I need to read a 197, which means I need to move my pinion 0.02 away from where it is. I had a 26 thousandths shim in it. I'm going to put in a 24 thousandths shim. These are the GM shims. They are actually stamped on them. They're kind of close to exactly what's stamped on them. Some of them read a little bit differently. But I'm going to stick a 24 in there, and then we'll put it back together. We'll check our pinion depth with the pinion depth gauge again. We'll verify that we have our calculated depth at its correct position, and then we will put it together for the last time. Because if it is in and measured correctly, and that's an important part, if I actually make the measurement correctly and it's in correctly, it should be right where it needs to be. And then you just have to verify your backlash. So let's do that. Now what's interesting about this is I had a 34 thou shim in the other gear set, and I think that's what confused me because I'm not used to seeing a pinion go this shallow in these. This is a 24 thou shim. I had a 34 thou shim, so it's a 10 thousandths difference from the last ring and pinion to this ring and pinion. So, and my pattern was amazing. So different manufacturers, different shims, it makes a big difference. So I think I was getting confused on how far I was dwelling on how far I was going because I didn't feel like it should need to go that far in, but I was wrong. I went the wrong way. I went the wrong way. 93. Why is it less? So I need a 28 thou shim instead of a 26 thou shim because I'm a dummy. That's pretty funny. But it did move me my 2 thou. Just moved it the wrong way. Well, that's about as good of a pattern as I'm going to get, I guess. It still feels like this is way far forward and on the toe of the gear tooth, but I know I am exactly where I'm supposed to be per the pinion depth gauge. I even checked it twice because I make mistakes sometimes. I like to double check stuff. So my backlash is really perfect at 7 thou. It'll open up to 9 after it's driven a few times, preferably without burnouts and nitrous hits. So to answer the question, yes, this rear axle is absolutely going to fail under these power loads that they're putting into this thing. There is a 9-inch from a reputable builder, probably going to be getting installed in this thing in the next couple months, but this will keep this thing running down the road for now. I can't do a better setup than that with the parts I have. The pinion depth is exactly where it's supposed to be per the pinion depth gauge, and my backlash is right where it needs to be. My new bearing preload is right where it needs to be. My total bearing preload is right where it needs to be, so it should work just fine until they hit it with the go baby go button a few too many times. Wow, those are too long. Really? I swear if it wasn't for bad luck, I'd have no luck at all. What the heck? That's frustrating. Well, that wraps up this session with the old man's Malibu. New rear gear set to replace the new rear gear set. It is what it is. So I'm filling it up with 80-90 weight. Hopefully he'll put 200 or 300 miles on it, multiple heat cycles, and then dump this fluid out and fill it up with like a synthetic 140 weight. So I think it's like 75, 140. Since he's going to be asking a little bit more out of this rear end than it was designed for. Realistically, the rear end will do just fine for now. I believe he has another one coming. We'll see what happens with that. This car gave us quite a few obstacles to overcome. We ended up with the wrong install kit, so it had the incorrect pinion bearing. And then we found, actually Market A1 set us up and almost had a problem with that because We did actually have one that was boxed wrong, but luckily for us, he ordered 2, and the second one was correct in the box. So we lucked out there because Mark's a smart dude. Then the bolts for the bolt cover need to go in deeper, so I'm gonna have to pick up a bottoming tap to finish tapping those holes. Of course, I left the axles out reassembling it. That's just a bonehead move because I'm trying to film and talk and explain and whatnot. So that's on me. It's all right. I make mistakes too. It's okay to make mistakes. You just have to find them and fix them before you send them out the door. But have fun with it, Austin. I took it apart, put it back together a bunch of times, and then I realized I have the tool here to just do the measurement. And I'm like, hey, dummy, just do the measurement. Put it together and stop worrying about it. I get laser focused on something and I can't think, apparently. At any rate, you guys have a great day. We'll see you on the next one.